Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. You know, despite the original Duel Monsters canon of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stating that it originated from ancient Egypt, the game very rarely goes back to that setting. Sure, every few years we might get some Gravekeeper support or an update to nerf this, but it's certainly no longer at the forefront of the game like it used to be back in the days where we had set names like Pharaonic Guardian. So I'm always glad to hear when new cards show up that fit the aesthetic, and we've got a few of them to show off today. Premiering in the October 2004 core set, Soul of the Duelist, Horus, the Black Flame Dragon and its various level counterparts became an instant fan favorite, as well as arguably the most competitively viable of the level archetype. Naturia Beast, after all, sees play in any deck that can accommodate it, and level 8 does basically the same thing. So, when new support was announced for Horus, and it hardly did anything with it, some people were a little miffed. Not me though. I think expanding how the mythology is expressed by exploring different design spaces is rad, and it turns out that some of the cards do still work with our big dragon chicken. So let's explore the temple to get to know our deific comrades, decipher their ultimate goals, then see what acolytes we can initiate into our order. It's time to do a little father and son bonding exercise with Horus Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons and the fine people over at Dragon Shield. If you want to protect your cards with the strongest scales on the market that even come with their own lore while supporting the channel, use my affiliate link in the description. So, what's the deal with Horus? Well, currently it's split between three groups of cards. The ones meant to work with Horus the Black Flame Dragon, monsters that are derived from Horus, and his four sons. More info on which you can find in this short right here. And we'll go over each of them in their own little sections. First off, we'll cover a little piece of support for the spell-sundering titan, Horus's Servant, a level 1 Fire Beast Warrior monster with 100 attack and defense. While on the field, your opponent can't target face-up Horus the Black Flame Dragon monsters with spell cards, trap cards, or card effects. That gives your core Horuses a great layer of protection while they level up into their higher forms. The problem crops up when trying to protect this little guy. You, might not have noticed, but 100 in each stat might be great in some card games, but not this one. Even searching this out with Fire Formation Tanky isn't going to get you a comfortable amount of attack, so you're going to have to find some way to direct attacks away from this, or be ready to nuke anything that comes within striking distance. But one thing you can't deny is that they look good. They are absolutely serving in this pick. Next up, we have the big boss itself, Horus the Black Flame Dragon, starting with level 4. It's a fire dragon monster with 1600 attack and 1000 defense, and control of this face-up card can't be switched. And during the end phase of a turn this card destroyed a monster by battle, you can send this face-up card to the grave to special summon a Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6 from your hand or deck. It's nice that your opponent can't steal it, but that's only going to tick off the person running Crackdown, which is still a moral good. That new version upgrades its stats to 2300 attack and 1600 defense, and is unaffected by spell cards. So now we're starting to see where the anti-spell alignment is coming from. It upgrades in the exact same way as level 4, turning into Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8, which now has 3000 attack and 1800 defense. It can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned by its level 6 counterpart. And during either player's turn when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. But you must control this face-up card to activate and resolve this effect. So, to be fair, this isn't foolproof protection. It is still an activated effect, so it's vulnerable to things that interact with that, namely cards like Solemn Strike. It also can't stop cards like Super Polymerization, because it's not a blanket spell cards are negated effect like Imperial Order. That being said, forcing your opponent to have an out to this to access their spell cards is still a pretty good place to be in, and gets even better if you can get Horus's Servant to stick on board to provide it with more protection. Now, getting to this card is a bit of a doozy. After all, we only have one way to do it, and it's a little slow. But combined with some level support, a common tactic is to skip level 4 altogether and just cheat level 6 into play. Then trigger its effect, and voila! No wonder so many people love this card so much. It's got a great effect, amazing stats, and an incredibly striking design. Though, I've got to ask, is anyone else getting Clockwork vibes, like from Sly Cooper? I'm getting a lot of evil owl energy from this monster. Alright, and that's all we have to say about base Horus for now, so it's time for those spin-offs. First up is Dark Horus, a level 8 Dark Dragon monster with 3000 attack and 1800 defense, and once per turn, after resolving a spell card that was activated during your opponent's main phase, you can target a level 4 Dark monster in your grave and special summon that target. But this card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So where the main Horus shuts down your opponent's spells, this one wants your opponent to play them to enable this effect, though you could always just play your own quick play spells to activate this as well. This is part of the cycle of dark monsters that were released in the core set Phantom Darkness, giving us evil, blighted versions of previous powerful monsters. But the funny thing is that this lacks a special summon effect that's found in so many others, which is weird since the original has to be special summon. This is a great body that can get back some great monsters, including Armageddon Knight, which in turn can fuel your grave with more monsters, but really just boils down to a walking version of the evil Horus be like meme, and I think that's pretty funny. Metaphys Horus is a level 6 light worm synchro monster with 2300 attack and 1600 defense, requiring generic material. If this card is synchro summoned, you can activate the appropriate effects depending on the non-tuner monsters used as synchro material. For normal, this face-up card is unaffected by other card effects this turn. For effect, you can target one other face-up card on the field and negate that target's effects. And if a pendulum monster was used, your opponent chooses a monster they control and gives control of it to you, but it can't attack this turn. This time around, the Metaphys theme has decided to pay us a visit, another series that recontextualizes old monsters, this time seeing if we would love them if they were worms, and if they like being banished. And while it's clearly meant to be a version of level 6, it's funny to see how this has a reference to each one of the different leveled Horus's effects. The normal one is from level 6, keeping it from being affected by all other effects this turn, not just spells. The effect one is kind of like level 8, but for negating any singular face-up card, and the pendulum one references level 4, because where that card's control can't change, this one forces your opponent to suffer that fate. You could even get multiple of these effects at once if you're able to get small enough monsters to make a combination of normal, effect, and pendulum. Heck, if you get a pendulum monster in on this, you're already covering 2 of those bases, because a pendulum monster does also have to be normal or effect. It's a funky little card and has some utility for the deck in question, but don't expect to get much use out of it alongside Horus proper, nor should you expect it to be meta. This. That covers all the old cards, so let's change gears and talk about the Sons of Horus, and they all share a few distinct characteristics. They're all level 8, can be special summoned from the grave inherently once per turn if you control the card Pharaonic Sarcophagus, and has an effect that triggers when any number of other cards you control leave the field because of an opponent's card effect. Let's start with Emony, Glory of Horus, a dark spellcaster monster with 3000 attack and 1800 defense. You can send 2 cards from your hand to the grave, including this card, to add a Pharaonic Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. Then you can draw a card. And if any of your other cards leave the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can send a card on the field to the grave. This is kind of ridiculous, because you can use its in-hand effect, which functions kind of like the theme's Archetypal Draw 2 spell. Then when you play the sarcophagus you just searched, you can just summon Emony right back from the grave. What's more is that this does not put you under any kind of summon lock, so you could use this in functionally any deck. And I don't know a deck that doesn't want to have a level 8, 3000 attack monster that can punish your opponent for using removal. Glory of Horus is right, you tech this into your deck, and the victories just became that much closer. Duamatef, Blessing of Horus, is a water beast monster with 0 attack and defense, and gains 1200 attack and defense for each Horus monster you control, including itself. And if another card you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters with different names in your main monster zone. Wow, what in the world is going on here? Duamatef is clearly not meant to be your first run monster, but even with just 2 of these on board, this is a 2400 point monster that can get you 2 draws if its effect goes off. And you could bring that up to 5 monsters, including using one of the Black Flame Dragons, which would make this a 6000 attack monster that could draw you 5 cards. Granted, that's a bit of a pipe dream, but like I said, even on the small end, this card is great value, especially because the draw effect doesn't count Horus monsters, just main monster zone monsters with different names. So once again, this is highly splashable and will easily be a blessing in any deck. Happy, Vanguard of Horus, is a Wind Beast Warrior monster with 2400 attack and 1600 defense, and if another of your cards leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can target 2 cards that are either banished and or in either grave, and either add both to hand or shuffle both into the deck. This is a phenomenal recursion tool that can also be disruption. If your opponent has anything spicy in their grave or banished zone, you shuffle it back into their deck, or you can take your stuff and put it back into your hand. going a good way towards negating the negative you incurred when losing the cards that triggered this effect. So no matter what deck you see this in, you'll be happy you saw it. And so will it. Kebus NUF, Aegis of Horus, is an Earth-winged beast monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense, and if any of your other cards leave the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can activate the following effect. This turn, your opponent can't target Horus monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent can't target Horus monsters on the field with card effects. This is probably the most underwhelming of the new Horus cards, especially since it only works on Horus monsters. It being reactionary also means your opponent will get some time to target your cards, they just won't be able to after this effect goes off. Still, it's a big body attached to a free summon, it's hard to not like that, and does a lot for Horus proper, since once that effect goes off, you can keep Servant from being attacked, which itself was keeping the Black Flame Dragon safe already. Wow, it really is one big happy family, huh? Pharaonic Sarcophagus is a continuous spell card that keeps Horus monsters from being destroyed by card effects unless they target them. So no Raigeki, no Lightning Storm, and no Dark Hole, which is something we actually have to keep in mind now. You can send a card from your hand to the grave to send a Horus monster from your deck to the grave, an effect that you can only use up to 4 times per turn. I guess eat your heart out thrice per turn. And once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if your Horus monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send that opponent's monster to the grave. That's right, it gives your Horus monsters a bit of that El Shaddai construct magic. Oh, and keep in mind that that also helps Servant because it gets the benefit from this as well. Though make sure not to use it if you want to upgrade the Black Flame Dragon, since it has to destroy a monster by battle for the level up effect to go off. It's also a fantastic way to set up the other Sons of Horus. Any spare card in your hand can throw any of the new level 8 monsters in grave, at which point you get to summon them. And that's to say nothing of any value you get for any cards that you send to the graveyard as part of that cost. Heck, if you hard drew any of the other Sons, discarding them to send another is basically a free 2-for-1. I wouldn't be surprised to see a small engine of 3 Seti and 1 each of these other cards be splashed into a ton of decks moving forward to give your deck a little extra zhuzh. Like, it's free big level 8 monsters, which means rank 8 enabling, big synchro enabling, and big punch enabling. Even the fact that it doesn't protect against targeted protection helps here, because now it forces your opponent to hit a limited number of monsters, allowing you to trigger the effects of your other Horuses. That's so much value that once you're done here, you're gonna have to put your opponent in that sarcophagus. Holy cow. Canopic Protector is a continuous trap card, and once per chain, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a Horus monster from your hand or grave. But for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon monsters with the same original name by the effect of Canopic Protector. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the grave, you can set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So, let me get this straight. Not only do you get this back for free when you send this from your hand to the grave for Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you can use this multiple times in a single turn? Using this, you can get back any of your Horus Sons back to the field if they're sent to the graveyard, which, granted, they themselves don't have a problem doing, but this allows you to do it during your opponent's turn. But it's not just for them. You can use this to get back Servant to reapply the protection to Black Flame Dragon, and while you're not able to summon level 8 with this, you can get back level 6 so you can get into it, or bring back level 4 to act as free material. This card is absolutely outrageous. Folks, I'm sorry, I know it's not safe for work, but we have to put Horus in the Canopic jar. It's too good not to use! Okay, that's all the Horus cards, but what do we do with them? Well, the new cards do have a bit more of a focused game plan than the old one, but to be fair, they do give you enough value to help with the process of establishing the almighty Horus. Even if it is just to provide fodder for level 6 to lead you into level 8, they've got a lot here to help you punch big and ruin spells. So our goal will be to find our other groups of cards that work with the discard outlets the theme has, finding level 8 synergies, and giving your opponent easy to punch monsters to establish our boss. So what can we play to help them out? Well, the first place we can look to is the level support cards, the best of which being level up. It basically turns level 6 into 8 immediately, so you don't have to wait to punch a monster. And thankfully, unlike some other level monsters I could mention, Horus level 8 does not need to be summoned by its earlier version to gain its spell negating effect, so you're all in the clear. The graveyard in the 4th dimension might be a good way to reset level 8, but I would avoid running level modulation. Not only do you give your opponent 2 free draws, even if you summon a properly summoned level 8 with this, it can't do anything that turn, which is a real shame. Vanguard of the Underground Emperor is an outstanding card to run in any deck running Pharaonic Sarcophagus. It makes for great discard fodder, and if you send a monster again with its effect, you can bring out Vanguard, giving you a huge monster that also works as efficient rank 8 material. That way it won't be put on the bottom of your deck when detached, and now you can use it again next turn to summon even more rank 8s. Pharaonic Advent feels like it should work with this deck, and it kinda does, but not by a lot. It's pretty easy to bring out, and it can search Canopic Protector, but you need to be running a few specific types for it, so you will need to run Vanguard of the Underground Emperor to make this work. And I mean, it's not like you need to have more level 8 material, you already have 4. Speaking of rank 8s though, what are some good ones? Dingirsu is a great way to protect your board. Number 38, Hope Harbinger Good Golly Miss Molly Slap Me on the Ass and Call Me Colonel Dragon Titanic Galaxy is another way we can set up spell negation until we get Horus online. Or you can just OTK with Draglubian and any other rank 8 to get a 17,000 attack Numeron Dragon on board. The Zombie Vampire also isn't a bad option if your deck is full of Grave synergies, and number 23 Lancelot, Dark Knight of the Underworld, can close out games with a direct attack while giving you more spell and trap negation. But the funniest has got to be Coach King Giant Trainer. We've got more than enough level 8s to bring this out, can deal a potentially enormous amount of damage, draw us Buku's cards, and even do it on turn 1 so we don't have to worry about the drawbacks. A major hurdle in getting to level 8 is finding fodder for level 6 to feast on. Thankfully, we have just the right monster to make that work, Gameciel the Sea Turtle Kaiju. With 2200 attack, it's just underneath level 6's 2300 attack, so you can punch over that and expect a spell negating menace in just a few phases. As for a silly tech pick, well, we haven't really talked about what kind of normal summons we'd like to use with our deck. Sure, with all the attributes we have floating around, you could do some kind of invoked pile, but with all of our high-leveled, easy-to-summon monsters, I think we should bring out the Grenmaju of high-leveled monsters, the Calculator. Each individual Horus Sun gives this monster 2400 attack, putting it at a smooth 3000 with its own levels. So make a board with this bloke, and you're sure to have lethal damage on the spot, on demand. And that's all I have to say about the Horus cards. With the way things are, I'm confident we'll get some new cards that meld these two disparate halves into a cohesive whole in the next few months. But for now, I'm really enjoying this powerful, self-contained engine that offers a lot of options for not a lot of investment. Keep an eye out for Age of Overlord's release, because when these come out, they're gonna go fast, and before long, the time where you could have gotten them first will be ancient history. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are the Horus cards about to reign in a new dynasty of value, or are they a bit too rich for your blood? And what support would you make to better unify them with the Black Flame Dragon? Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, make sure you like the video to boost it, subscribe to help grow the channel, and share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! To beat the algorithm. It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode was brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. When you want to protect your cards with the power of Dragon Scales, get some sweet lore for them, and support the channel, check out my link in the description to get started. Today's episode is also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commander Green Knight, Nebula Navigator's 3rd Dynasty, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajadel, Andrew Newman, A Random Pup, Avi Chali, Kane Senpai, Chibi Gohan, Danny Bound, Eric, Aaron the World Breaker, Frankie, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba 331, Great Big Pillock, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Iskander 711, John, Jordan, Julius Sneezer, Mana Charge, Marluxia's a Girl, Molly Renata, Nathan Vig, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sammy Haim, Sir Knight JCB, Sky Buster Leo, Sophie, apparently, The Wizard Moose and Xander Wolfensberger, Cosmic Crusaders Almento 5010, Aaron, Ariel Kersey, Beluga Master, Blue Gem, Chaz Ghost, Chris Kessler, Corbinisms, Drachenwald, Eki Bullock, Emony, Eva Padilla, Hake Boyagian, Herbal D, In the House Like Carpet, Inblink, Jester Designs, Kale the Dragon, Carp, Kevon Public, King Scarlet Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lemon Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lord Whoop-De-Doo, Manga Pages, Marion James E. Picata, Matt Simmons, Mega Combi, Michael Shimabukuro, Nadia McCarthy, Nitromo, Ruxith Sarani, Shizuka Nijimura, Star-Lord 777, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, Tucker Ordorn, and Zal Dureka, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, participate in monthly custom card reviews, and just keep the lights on in general, please consider becoming a patron by using that link in the description or by becoming a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see another theme that draws inspiration from Egypt, check out this video I made covering Grave Keepers. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.